When I think of Pat Higginbotham, a whole cascade of words come to mind. Greatness, generosity of spirit, caring.
Scholarly, engaging.
Thoughtful, compassionate, public-spirited.
He's tireless. He's just has this boundless energy.
Generous, loyal, friend.
Well, I've known Pat for many years. He grew up out of southern Alabama, that's kind of poor, and I think that went into his character and helped make him the person he is.
When he was about 14, he moved into a YMCA and played tennis and put himself through school and paid for everything playing tennis, and he sold collard greens off the back of a truck. And he would go to Krispy Kreme every morning and get a cup of coffee and a donut on the way to school and then play tennis, and that's how he paid for college as well.
I went to law school with my brother, Pat, who is 6 years younger than I am. And not only did Pat go to school for 3 years, he caught up with me and we both graduated together. And I think in a sense that I probably graduated on the basis of Pat's reputation.
I first knew of Judge Higginbotham when he was with the old Dallas firm of Coke & Coke. There was no more old and respected firm in Dallas. So he practiced law, then became a federal judge in his 30s, one of the youngest, if not the youngest federal judge appointed in the country at the time.
To be a successful partner in a successful law firm at a young age in the 30s, and then be a federal judge and take that lifetime commitment seriously, is to make an enormous financial sacrifice in terms of one's career. Patrick Higginbotham has not only accepted that responsibility ungrudgingly, but has used the opportunity given to someone who holds the position of United States District Judge and later Court of Appeals Judge to try to move the law in ways that he thinks it ought to move.
I clerked for Pat back after graduating law school, so beginning in the summer of 1988. He was a terrific judge to work for, learned in the law, thoughtful about the cases that came before him, and a wonderful mentor to all of us. He's a man with a tremendous skill for understanding how it is that you reach out to other human beings, even when you disagree with them, and find ways to forge common ground.
Whether it's his work with the American Inns of Court, in the administration of justice, or whether it's working in education, higher education, he's just there to make the world a little bit of a better place. He's a high-impact player.
He has lots of Texasisms. He has lots of that dog won't hunt kind of thing.
Put the hay down where the goats can get it.
You got to remember that riding a horse is just more than sitting in the saddle and letting your legs dangle.
I remember one story I heard him say to a lawyer after the other lawyer did not do a very good argument, and the first lawyer got back up for rebuttal, and Pat said, "Don't put the ball up in the air when you're winning the game." And that's the kind of thing he says. There's a message there and you can get it pretty quickly, but he uses plain spoken English to get the message across.
Whenever he gets angry, he says, Jiminy Cricket. And so you know you're in serious trouble if he turns around and looks at you and goes, "Jiminy Cricket, Tricia, what were you thinking?" Then I know I have really messed up. So I guess it could be worse. Daddy has an incredible work ethic. As a matter of fact, it's evident that we would go on vacation and I have pictures of Daddy in a three-piece suit on the beach. He works very, very hard. He wanted to make sure that we had time together as a family when we go on vacations and stuff, but he still had to work.
I would say Judge Higginbotham had many large accomplishments. The one with which I have the most familiarity, of course, is what he did at the Center for American International Law. He started training programs there. He was responsible or directly involved in the new building and generally moving it up a notch.
Pat led the center for 12 years, and he's still, thankfully, a huge part of how it thinks about what it does on a day-to-day basis and what it needs to do to be a strong institution going forward. Although one person is never indispensable and one person is never the entire explanation for the continued success of an organization that has the decades of success that the center had, I cannot imagine a single person who had a greater role.
The other thing to say about Pat is he is a man of tremendous values. He shows that in the way he treats everybody, and he shows it in the way he treats his family.
I'm not sure his family growing up is everything that he wanted it to be. So when he raised his kids, I think he wanted to give us every opportunity that he was not given. And he did.
He has always been able to know when we need him as well as when his career needs him. And we've always felt loved and never, ever felt neglected. He's a pretty great dad.
We call our grandparents Honey and G-Daddy because when I was younger, I was the first grandchild, and I could not say Granddaddy, and so it's shortened to G-Daddy so I could say it.
G-Daddy is so important to our family. He and Honey, together my mother, are the best grandparents ever, and they have been so wonderful to the kids.
We've had some great times with Pat and Libba over the years. Libba is such an endearing person. She's such a welcoming person. When Pat and Libba are together, you feel good. You feel happy.
Honey was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and G-Daddy goes to visit her a lot because she's now in a home, and every time he goes and visits her, her eyes light up, and the way that he relates to her and how he doesn't get frustrated. He's so patient with her and so gentle. You know that he's never, ever going to leave her side.
My dad has always been so devoted to my mother, and after she was diagnosed and got sick, his caretaker side really has kicked in, and I have never seen a more touching image than my dad taking care of my mother.
When Mother and Daddy moved out to Blanco and they built their dream home, and it is on top of a hill overlooking the hill country, and his office happens to be with a big bay window looking out over this beautiful property, and so he's able to sit there and get his work done and enjoy the fruits of his labor.
Dad has 2 horses on the ranch, horse Sunny that he's had since she was a baby, and then Shawnee, which is a little white pony that he bought because he thought Sunny was lonely.
Okay, girl.
I think a perfect day for Dad at the ranch would be just hanging out with his horses, taking them and feeding them and cleaning them and brushing their manes.
Daddy and I are alike because we both love to read, and we're both really smart, and sometimes we both smell like horses.
You know, how is your life better for having a dear friend that you have great affection for, somebody you admire, somebody you think is, somebody you say, you tell your children, you ought to be like Pat Higginbotham. Having that kind of person in your life is just a boost all the way around.
He's just a great guy, and back behind all of his toughness as a lawyer and as a judge is just a really dedicated, great person with a great sense of humor, a great family commitment, and a great commitment to our country.
I think in order I would put him, he's been a wonderful husband, he's been a wonderful father, he's been a magnificent judge. and a great friend.